Imagine being invited to a millionaire's party, not as a guest but as a joke. But what if you showed up and stole the spotlight from everyone in the room? This is the unbelievable story of how one woman turned humiliation into pure inspiration. Don't miss what happens next. Did you hear what Mr. Thompson did? The whispers spread like wildfire through the grand halls of the city's most luxurious mansion. Mr. Thompson, a self-made millionaire known for his extravagant parties and sharp sense of humor, had just sent out invitations for his annual gala. But this year there was a twist that left everyone stunned. He had invited Martha, the black cleaning lady who worked in his office building, as a special guest. Some thought it was a joke. Others believed it was a mistake. But the truth was Mr. Thompson wanted to amuse his wealthy friends by inviting someone they'd never expect to see at such a glamorous event. "Let's see how she handles herself among the elite," he chuckled to his friends, not knowing that this one decision would change everything. Martha had worked in Mr. Thompson's office building for years. She was always polite, always on time, and always did her job with a quiet dignity. Most people barely noticed her as she moved from room to room, emptying trash cans and wiping down desks. But Martha noticed everything. She saw the way people looked past her, the way they sometimes spoke about her as if she wasn't even there. She heard the jokes, the whispers, and the laughter that followed her down the hallways. But she never let it break her spirit. So when Martha received the golden envelope, she was confused. She turned it over in her hands, reading her name written in elegant script. "Why would a millionaire invite me to his party?" she wondered aloud, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. Her friends at work warned her, "It's probably a prank, Martha. Don't go and embarrass yourself." But deep down, Martha felt something different. She saw this as an opportunity, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been underestimated. For days, Martha thought about what to do. She remembered all the times she had been overlooked, all the times people had assumed she was less than she was. She decided she would go to the party, but not as the cleaning lady everyone thought she was. She would show up as the woman she truly was, confident, proud, and unafraid to shine. The night of the gala arrived. The mansion sparkled with golden lights, and the air buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. Guests in designer gowns and sharp tuxedos filled the ballroom, waiting for the night's entertainment. The tables were covered in white linen, and the chandeliers sparkled like stars overhead. Waiters moved through the crowd with trays of champagne and tiny hors d'oeuvres. Everyone was talking about the guest list, and everyone was waiting to see if the rumor was true. Would Martha really show up? Suddenly, the room fell silent as the doors swung open. There stood Martha, but not as anyone remembered her. She wore a stunning floor-length gown of deep emerald green, her hair styled elegantly, and her posture regal. She walked in with grace, her head held high, and a warm, confident smile on her face. The crowd gasped. Some whispered, "Is that really Martha?" Others stared in disbelief, their eyes wide with surprise. Mr. Thompson, expecting a laugh, was left speechless. Martha didn't just fit in, she stood out. She greeted the guests with poise, her charm and wit quickly winning over even the most skeptical attendees. She moved through the room with confidence, shaking hands, making small talk, and even sharing a few jokes of her own. People who had never spoken to her before found themselves drawn to her warmth and kindness. As the evening unfolded, Martha became the star of the show. She shared stories of her life, her struggles, and her dreams. People listened, captivated by her honesty and strength. She danced, laughed, and even gave a heartfelt toast that moved many to tears. She spoke about the importance of kindness, about the power of believing in yourself, and about never letting anyone else define your worth. Mr. Thompson, watching from the sidelines, felt a mix of embarrassment and admiration. He realized that his joke had backfired. Instead of being the subject of ridicule, Martha had become the heart of the party. Guests who had once looked down on her now lined up to talk to her, eager to learn from her wisdom and resilience. By the end of the night, it was clear. Martha had not only broken through the walls of prejudice, but had also built bridges of understanding and respect. As the clock struck midnight, Martha prepared to leave. Mr. Thompson approached her, his eyes filled with genuine respect. "Martha, tonight you taught us all a lesson I'll never forget," he admitted. "You showed us that true class and dignity come from within, not from wealth or status. Martha smiled, her eyes shining. Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Thompson. Sometimes all someone needs is a chance to show who they really are. The next day, the city buzzed with talk of the unforgettable night. Martha's story inspired many, reminding everyone that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. And as for Mr. Thompson, he never played such a joke again. Instead, he became one of Martha's biggest supporters, helping her start a foundation to empower others like her. And so the cleaning lady who was invited as a joke left the party as a true diva, teaching everyone that respect, courage, and kindness are the real marks of a millionaire. When Martha received the golden envelope, she was confused. Why would a millionaire invite me to his party? She wondered aloud, holding the invitation with trembling hands. The envelope was thick and heavy, the kind of invitation that only the city's most important people received. Her name was written in beautiful, swirling letters, and inside was a card that sparkled with gold trim. It was an invitation to Mr. Thompson's annual gala, the most talked about event of the year. Martha's friends at work gathered around her as she read the invitation again and again, trying to make sense of it. It's probably a prank, Martha. Don't go and embarrass yourself, one of her friends said, shaking her head. Another whispered, maybe they sent it to the wrong person. You know how those rich folks are. The more they talked, the more Martha's doubts grew. She had spent years cleaning offices, scrubbing floors, and emptying trash cans. She was used to being invisible, to blending into the background while others lived their glamorous lives. But deep down, Martha felt something different. She saw this as an opportunity, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been underestimated. She thought about all the times she had been overlooked, all the times people had spoken over her or ignored her completely. She remembered the little girl she used to be, dreaming of beautiful dresses and sparkling lights, wishing for just one night to feel special. Maybe, just maybe, this was her chance. That night, Martha sat at her small kitchen table, the invitation lying in front of her like a golden ticket. She thought about what it would mean to walk into that party, to stand tall among people who had never given her a second glance. She imagined their faces, the surprise in their eyes, the whispers that would follow her through the room. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and excitement swirling inside her. With her heart pounding, Martha made a decision. She would go to the party, but not as the cleaning lady everyone thought she was. She would show up as the woman she truly was. Confident, proud, and unafraid to shine. She would not let anyone's expectations define her. She would not let fear hold her back. The next day, Martha began to prepare. She didn't have a fancy dress or expensive jewelry, but she was determined to look her best. She saved every extra penny she could, skipping lunches and working extra hours. She visited thrift stores and second-hand shops, searching for something special. After days of searching, she found it. A beautiful emerald green gown, simple but elegant, that fit her perfectly. She bought a pair of sparkling earrings and a matching clutch, and even treated herself to a visit to the hair salon. As the day of the party approached, Martha's nerves grew. She practiced walking in her heels, standing tall in front of her mirror, and reminding herself that she belonged. She thought about her mother's words. You are just as good as anyone else, Martha. Don't let anyone tell you different. She repeated those words to herself like a mantra, letting them fill her with courage. On the night of the gala, Martha took a deep breath and stepped out of her apartment. The city lights sparkled around her as she made her way to the mansion. She could feel the eyes of strangers on her, but she kept her head high. When she arrived at the grand entrance, the doorman looked at her with surprise, but she handed him her invitation with a steady hand. Inside, the mansion was even more beautiful than she had imagined. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbows of light across the marble floors. Waiters in crisp uniforms carried trays of champagne and delicate hors d'oeuvres. The guests were dressed in designer gowns and sharp tuxedos, their laughter echoing through the halls. As Martha entered the ballroom, a hush fell over the crowd. People turned to stare, their eyes wide with surprise. Some whispered to each other, trying to remember where they had seen her before. Others simply stared, unable to believe that the cleaning lady from the office could look so stunning, so confident, so completely at ease among the city's elite. Martha smiled, her nerves melting away as she walked through the room. She greeted people with warmth and grace, her confidence shining through. She chatted with guests, shared stories, and even made a few people laugh. Slowly, the whispers faded, replaced by admiration and respect. Throughout the night, Martha felt a sense of freedom she had never known before. She realized that she didn't need anyone's approval to feel special. She didn't need a fancy title or a big bank account. All she needed was the courage to be herself. By the end of the evening, Martha had made new friends, shared her story, and inspired others to see beyond appearances. She had shown everyone that true elegance comes from within, and that anyone, no matter their background, can shine if given the chance. As she left the party, Martha felt a sense of pride and joy. She had walked into that mansion as the cleaning lady, but she left as a woman who had claimed her place in the world. And from that night on, she knew she would never let anyone make her feel small again. The night of the gala arrived, and the city's most luxurious mansion was transformed into a palace of light and music. Golden lanterns lined the driveway, casting a warm glow on the arriving guests. The air was filled with the sound of laughter, the clinking of crystal glasses, and the soft notes of a string quartet playing in the background. Valets in crisp uniforms opened car doors for men in sharp tuxedos and women in dazzling designer gowns, each one more glamorous than the last. The guests moved through the grand entrance, their eyes wide with excitement, eager to see what surprises Mr. Thompson had in store this year. Inside, the ballroom was a vision of elegance. Massive chandeliers hung from the ceiling, their crystals sparkling like stars. Tables were draped in white linen and decorated with towering arrangements of fresh flowers. Waiters glided through the crowd, offering trays of champagne and delicate hors d'oeuvres. The city's elite mingled, exchanging stories and laughter, their voices blending into a symphony of anticipation. Everyone was waiting for the night's entertainment, for the moment when Mr. Thompson would unveil his latest surprise. Suddenly, the room fell silent as the grand double doors at the end of the ballroom swung open. All eyes turned, and for a moment time seemed to stand still. There, framed by the golden light spilling in from the hallway, stood Martha. But she was not the Martha anyone remembered. Gone was the plain uniform and tired expression. Tonight she was transformed. Martha wore a stunning floor-length gown of deep emerald green that shimmered with every step she took. The dress hugged her figure perfectly, the color making her skin glow. Her hair was styled in soft waves, pinned elegantly at the back, and a pair of sparkling earrings caught the light as she moved. Her posture was regal, her shoulders back and her head held high. But it was her smile, a warm, confident smile that truly lit up the room. The crowd gasped. Some guests whispered to each other, "Is that really Martha?" Others simply stared in disbelief, unable to reconcile the woman before them with the cleaning lady they had seen in the office hallways. For a few seconds the only sound was the soft music from the quartet, and then slowly the whispers grew louder. Martha walked into the ballroom with grace, her every step measured and assured. She didn't rush or shrink away from the attention. Instead, she embraced it, letting the moment wash over her. She paused at the top of the stairs, scanning the room, and then began to descend, her gown flowing behind her like a river of green silk. Mr. Thompson, who had been standing with a group of his friends, expecting a laugh at Martha's expense, was left speechless. He had imagined that she would arrive looking out of place, nervous and awkward, providing a bit of amusement for his wealthy guests. But Martha didn't just fit in, she stood out. She looked every bit as elegant and poised as any of the city's socialites, perhaps even more so. As Martha made her way through the crowd, she greeted the guests with poise. She smiled warmly at those who met her gaze, and her charm and wit quickly won over even the most skeptical attendees. She stopped to chat with a group of women admiring her dress, sharing a laugh and a compliment in return. She accepted a glass of champagne from a waiter, thanking him with a nod that made him smile. Everywhere she went, people found themselves drawn to her, curious and impressed by her transformation. Some guests, still unsure, tried to test her. One man, a well-known businessman, approached her with a sly grin. "So, Martha, what brings you to a place like this?" he asked, expecting her to stumble over her words. But Martha simply smiled and replied, "The same thing that brings everyone else, I suppose, a desire to enjoy good company and a beautiful evening." Her answer was so calm and confident that the man was left nodding in approval, unable to find anything more to say. As the evening went on, Martha continued to surprise everyone. She joined in conversations about art, music, and even business, sharing her thoughts with intelligence and humor. She listened carefully to others, making each person feel important and heard. People who had never noticed her before now found themselves eager to talk to her, to learn more about the woman who had so effortlessly captured the room's attention. Mr. Thompson watched all of this unfold, his initial amusement turning to admiration. He realized that Martha was not just surviving the night, she was thriving. She had taken what was meant to be a joke and turned it into her moment to shine. The other guests, too, began to see her in a new light. They saw not just a cleaning lady, but a woman of strength, dignity, and undeniable presence. By the time dinner was served, Martha was seated at the main table, surrounded by some of the most influential people in the city. She laughed and shared stories, her confidence growing with every passing minute. The guests who had once doubted her now looked to her for conversation and advice, eager to be part of her orbit. As the night drew to a close, it was clear that Martha had not only fit in, she had become the star of the evening. She had shown everyone that true elegance and confidence come from within, and that sometimes the most extraordinary people are those you least expect. And as she left the ballroom, her head held high, the guests knew they would never forget the night Martha walked in and changed everything. As the evening unfolded, something remarkable began to happen. Martha, who had entered the grand ballroom as an unexpected guest, soon became the star of the show. At first, people watched her with curiosity, whispering behind their hands and stealing glances her way. But as the hours passed, their curiosity turned into genuine admiration. Martha didn't try to hide who she was. She didn't pretend to be someone else or shy away from the attention. Instead, she embraced the moment with a quiet confidence that was impossible to ignore. When people approached her, she greeted them with warmth and sincerity. Her smile was genuine, her laughter infectious, and her eyes sparkled with a light that drew people in. As the music played and the guests mingled, Martha found herself in conversation after conversation. Some people asked her about her dress, complimenting her on her elegant style. Others wanted to know how she knew Mr. Thompson, or what she did for a living. Martha answered every question honestly, never once feeling ashamed of her background. She spoke about her work as a cleaning lady, about the long hours and the challenges she faced. But she also spoke about her dreams, her hopes for a better future, her love for music and books, and her belief that everyone deserved to be treated with respect. People listened, captivated by her honesty and strength. They realized that Martha was not just a guest at the party. She was a woman with a story, a woman who had faced adversity and come out stronger on the other side. Her words resonated with many of the guests, some of whom had never faced real hardship in their lives. They found themselves inspired by her resilience, her determination, and her unwavering belief in herself. As the night went on, Martha's confidence grew. She danced with grace and joy, moving across the floor as if she had been born for moments like this. Her laughter rang out above the music, and soon others joined her, drawn by her energy and spirit. She made everyone around her feel welcome, inviting even the shyest guests to join in the fun. At one point, the music slowed and the room grew quiet. Mr. Thompson, still watching from the sidelines, raised his glass and called for everyone's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "I think we can all agree that tonight has been full of surprises. But there's one guest who has truly made this evening unforgettable. Martha, would you do us the honor of saying a few words?" Martha felt a flutter of nerves, but she stood tall and accepted the microphone. She looked out at the sea of faces, some familiar, some not, and took a deep breath. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson, and thank you to everyone here tonight," she began. "I know I wasn't the guest you expected, but I'm grateful for the chance to be here. I've spent most of my life working behind the scenes, making sure everything is clean and in order. It's not always easy and sometimes it feels like no one notices. But tonight I feel seen. And I want to remind everyone that no matter where you come from, or what you do for a living, you have value. You have dreams. And you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment the room was silent. Then one by one people began to clap. The applause grew louder, and soon the entire ballroom was on its feet, cheering for Martha. Some guests wiped away tears moved by her heartfelt toast. Others smiled, feeling a sense of hope and connection they hadn't expected to find at such a glamorous event. Mr. Thompson, watching from the sidelines, felt a mix of embarrassment and admiration. He had invited Martha as a joke, expecting her to be out of place and uncomfortable, but instead, she had become the heart of the party. He realized that his joke had backfired in the best possible way. Martha had shown everyone, including himself, that true dignity and grace come from within, not from wealth or status. As the night continued, guests who had once looked down on Martha now lined up to talk to her. They wanted to hear more about her life, to learn from her wisdom and resilience. Some shared their own stories, opening up in ways they never had before. Martha listened with compassion, offering words of encouragement and support. She made each person feel important, reminding them that everyone has a story worth telling. By the end of the night, it was clear. Martha had not only broken through the walls of prejudice, but had also built bridges of understanding and respect. The atmosphere in the ballroom had changed. People who had arrived thinking only of themselves now left with a new perspective. They saw Martha not as a cleaning lady, but as a woman of strength, courage, and grace. As the last guests said their goodbyes and the lights in the mansion dimmed, Martha felt a sense of pride and fulfillment she had never known before. She had walked into the party as an outsider, but she was leaving as someone who had touched the hearts of everyone in the room. And as she stepped out into the cool night air, she knew that her life, and the lives of those she had met, would never be the same again. As the clock struck midnight, the grand ballroom began to empty, the laughter and music fading into the soft hum of the night. The golden lights that had sparkled so brightly now cast a gentle, almost magical glow over the remaining guests. Martha, still radiant in her emerald gown, gathered her things and prepared to leave. She felt a sense of peace and fulfillment, her heart full from the evening's unexpected turn. She had come to the party as an outsider, but she was leaving as someone who had touched every soul in the room. Just as she reached the grand staircase, Mr. Thompson appeared at her side. Gone was the smug, playful look he'd worn earlier in the evening. Now, his eyes were filled with genuine respect and a hint of humility. He paused for a moment, searching for the right words, and then spoke softly. "Martha, tonight you taught us all a lesson I'll never forget." His voice was sincere, and the weight of the night's events was clear in his tone. "You showed us that true class and dignity come from within, not from wealth or status." Martha smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude and understanding. She had seen the change in Mr. Thompson throughout the night, the way he watched her, the way he listened to her words, the way he realized the impact she was having on his guests. "Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Thompson," she replied, her voice warm and steady. Sometimes all someone needs is a chance to show who they really are. They stood together for a moment, two people from very different worlds, united by a single unforgettable evening. Mr. Thompson extended his hand, and Martha shook it, feeling a sense of closure and new beginnings all at once. As she walked out into the cool night air, she felt lighter than she had in years. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and Martha knew that her life had changed forever. The next morning, the city was abuzz with talk of the gala. Social media was flooded with photos and stories about the mysterious woman in the green dress who had stolen the show. People who had attended the party couldn't stop talking about Martha. Her grace, her wisdom, her incredible transformation. Even those who hadn't been there felt inspired by the story, which quickly spread from the city's wealthiest neighborhoods to its most humble corners. In offices and coffee shops, people discussed the lesson Martha had taught them. Some admitted they had never really noticed the cleaning staff before, but now they saw them in a new light. Others shared their own stories of being underestimated or overlooked, finding hope in Martha's courage and resilience. The story of the gala became a symbol of possibility, a reminder that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. For Martha, the days that followed were a whirlwind. She received messages from people she had never met, thanking her for her honesty and strength. Some wanted to know more about her life, while others simply wanted to say thank you for inspiring them. Martha was humbled by the outpouring of support, but she also felt a new sense of responsibility. She realized that her story could help others, that her voice could make a difference. Mr. Thompson, too, was changed by the experience. He reflected on his actions and the assumptions he had made. He realized that his so-called joke had been rooted in prejudice, and he was determined to make amends. He reached out to Martha, asking how he could support her and others like her. Together, they began to dream of ways to give back to the community. With Mr. Thompson's help, Martha started a foundation dedicated to empowering people from all walks of life. The foundation offered scholarships, job training, and mentorship programs for those who had been overlooked or underestimated. Martha became a leader and a role model, using her own experiences to inspire others to believe in themselves. She spoke at schools, community centers, and even corporate events, sharing her story and encouraging others to see the potential in everyone. The foundation quickly gained support from people across the city. Volunteers signed up to help, and donations poured in from those who had been touched by Martha's story. The organization became a beacon of hope, proving that one person's courage could spark real change. As the months passed, Martha's life blossomed in ways she had never imagined. She made new friends, discovered new talents, and found a sense of purpose that filled her days with joy. She never forgot where she came from, and she continued to treat everyone she met with kindness and respect. Her humility and grace remained at the heart of everything she did. Mr. Thompson, once known for his extravagant parties and sharp humor, became known for his generosity and commitment to equality. He and Martha worked side by side, building a legacy that would outlast any gala or social event. Their partnership showed the city that true greatness comes not from wealth or status, but from the willingness to lift others up. And so, the story of the cleaning lady who was invited to a millionaire's party as a joke became a legend in the city. It was a story told to children and adults alike, a story about courage, dignity, and the power of giving someone a chance. Martha's journey reminded everyone that the most beautiful transformations often begin with a single act of kindness, and that sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones we least expect. As Martha looked back on that unforgettable night, she felt nothing but gratitude. She had walked into the mansion as a cleaning lady, but she had left as a symbol of hope and possibility. And in doing so, she had changed not just her own life, but the lives of countless others, proving once and for all that true greatness comes from within. Thank you so much for watching this inspiring story. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more amazing stories like this, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done if you were Martha? We love hearing from you. See you in the next video.